Good day. This time I will be presenting a research study based on ethnobiology with the title The Dialectics of the Genitals, a grounded theory ethnography of sexuality education among Akeanon-Bukidnon community in Aklan. The alternative titles are as follows. First one, Grounded Genitalia, the ethnobiology of sex ed in a remote Aklanon community. And Penis and Vaginas Dialogue, Understanding the Indigent Sex Education Strategies of Residents of Aklan Boondocks. By yours truly, Rafael Kevin Ainagal, RN, MAED, a PhD in Science Education, major in Biology candidate. Well, reproductive health is defined by the World Health Organization as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity in all matters relating to the reproductive system and to its functions and processes. Despite abundant evidence of the benefits of curriculum-based comprehensive sexuality education, far too few children and adolescents receive it. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or the UNESCO, has created the standards in creating such program in education, and this is known as the comprehensive sexuality education. Well, reproductive health aims to stem population growth through the provision of a comprehensive health education aside from access to the health system. However, it seems that the interventions aiming for reproductive health is inefficient as seen in recent statistics. If you could have noticed, the number of births from mothers aged 10 to 14 years old are increasing from 2008 to 2018. For more than a decade, reproductive health activists and legislators fought a battle to pass a law that would allow the government to distribute contraceptives to those who could not afford them and require comprehensive sex education in public schools. This is known as the RH Law, or the Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act of 2012. This is a pioneering law that ensures universal and free access to practically all modern contraception at government health centers for all residents, including underprivileged populations. However, it seems that such actions provided by the RH law are inefficient when it comes to indigenous people as well as far-flung community individuals because of the following cultures and traditions such as arranged marriages, multiple wives, the binukot system, superstitious beliefs and practices which are actually common in the boondocks of Aklan. The RH law, which is actually supported by the UNESCO of 2012, is actually providing the fact that comprehensive sexuality education must be taught in subjects in basic education such as PE, health, as well as science, and of course in social science. However, this is actually kind of not effective, as I mentioned, because of the fact that tradition and culture still emanates among places in the far-flung communities. Now, the Philippine Council of Health Research and Development, as well as the DepEd Order Number 31 Series of 2018, together with the research thrust and priorities of West Visayas State University in 2016 to 2020, states that comprehensive sexuality education is a top priority. Now, in this study, the concept about the understanding of the beliefs, perceptions, and practices of the community in a far-flung area in Aklan can actually lead to contextualized and effective teaching. And when contextualized and effective teaching is done or is achieved, This will actually enhance the knowledge and awareness of students and individual when it comes to comprehensive sexuality education. And of course, this will lead to the reduction of the occurrence of repercussions. Now, in the Philippines, Mardi Gras and festivities are actually common. This is actually embedded with the culture, with our ethno-culture. This is actually a traditional knowledge. And when I say traditional knowledge, this is quite a known fact to everyone. The same goes with how the people in Aklan, especially in far-flung areas, are actually being oriented to sexuality education. Here, in the far-flung areas of Aklan, sex education is a taboo. Of course, this is embedded in ethnocultural sex education. Now, the study aims to understand the diversified ethnocultural perceptions, beliefs, practices, and approaches towards sex education among the residents of a remote community in Aklan, leading to a contextualized comprehensive sexuality education exemplar. Specifically, the study aims to answer the following questions. Number one, what are the participants' ethnocultural perceptions, beliefs, practices, and approaches towards sex education? How do the residents accept these ethnocultural perceptions, beliefs, practices, and approaches towards sex education? Number three, what are the emerging tenets associated with the participants' ethnocultural perceptions, beliefs, practices, and approaches as it relates to comprehensive sexuality education? And number four, what content and context considerations must be included in formulating a contextualized sexuality education lesson accommodating the hybrid space? These are the theoretical frameworks that support the study. There are several frameworks or groups of theories that I had. First one is the Neurobiological Theories by Masters and Johnsons, as well by Buzz and Schmidt, which provides the physiologic aspects of sex and sexuality, as well as the sexual response cycle. The developmental theories by Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis, Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory, Harry Stack Sullivan's interpersonal theory, Lawrence Kohlberg's theory of moral development, and John Piaget's theory of cognitive development will provide the fundamentals of psychodynamics in relation to the developmental level and sexuality identifications of individuals. The sociocultural and health-related theories such as the Hochbaum and Rosenstock's health belief model, as well as Isaac Asian's The Theory of Planned Behavior and Albert Bandura's social learning theory, will actually provide insights on the interactions of individuals on how they believe that such education must be learned or health benefits is actually really necessary in making sure that education is learned. Now, cognitive theories such as Vygotsky's cognitive development theory and Jerome Bruner's discovery learning is essential in this study so that we will be able to understand how the individual thinks and absorb and assimilate data relative to sex. Finally, learning theories, specifically the hybrid space and culturally relevant pedagogy, are necessary in the creation of the contextualized exemplar. The paradigm of the study stays this way, with ethnocultural perceptions, beliefs, practices, and approaches towards sex education as embedded in the culture, as it merges or these merges with the reception of ethnocultural perceptions, beliefs, practices, and approaches towards sex education among the participants. A theory will be generated based on how they assimilate culture and knowledge. From the tenets generated, contextualized sexuality education lesson exemplar will be created. For the scope and limitation, this involves the formulation of a culturally relevant sexuality education lesson exemplar for residents of a remote community in Aklan through their indigent ethnocultural perceptions, beliefs, practices, and approaches towards sex education, and the tenets associated with the acceptance of such ethnocultural practices, beliefs, and perceptions. This will be guided by the RH Law of 2012. The methodology to be utilized will be through grounded theory and ethnography. Both are under the theoretical perspectives of interpretivism. The participants will be the residents of Panipyason, Madalag, Aklan, and some experts. Data gathering will be conducted in the school year 2022 to 2023. For methodology, the epistemology is constructionism, under interpretivism or symbolic interactionism for the theoretical perspective. As mentioned, this will be a combination of constructivist grounded theory by Chermaz and ethnography. The methods will include in-depth interview, theoretical sampling, focus group discussions, participant observation, survey, memoing, coding, and thematic analysis. The setting, as mentioned, will be in Panipyason, Madalag, Aklan. The participants will include the residents and the experts. The instrument that will be utilized will include the focus group discussion protocols for experts and residents, the interview guide, and a researcher-made test questions. Now, for the specific procedure, first, literature review of ethnobiology and ethnography and learning sex education will be done. Community immersion and interview of leaders and elders will follow. Administration of sex education quiz to check whether the learners or the residents understand the comprehensive sexuality education as embedded in the RH law. Of course, participant observation through the community immersion. An interview of participants will be done depending on which one is allowed. Then series of FGDs and interviews with participants will be done to saturate the data through theoretical sampling. And of course, validation of results of qualitative data as well as the interpretations of the transcribed and the codes generated from and the themes generated will be done afterwards. Theory generation will be done once all the data are collected. And finally, FGD with experts such as the LR, learning resource, and textbook writers will be done to formulate a contextualized lesson exemplar with suggested scripts. For data analysis, qualitative data will be analyzed through thematic analysis using open, actual, and selective coding of the result of the FGD protocols, interviews, participant observation, and the written comments and suggestions of the evaluators will be used as the qualitative results. For quantitative data, identification of mastery level of participants on sexuality education using the researcher-made quiz will be done. For the matrix of procedure, for question number 1, 2, 3, 4, the same source of data, instrument, and analysis of data will be utilized. So, the sources of data will be in-depth interview, FGD, participant observation, literature review, theoretical sampling, and test or quiz. Instrument will include interview guide, FGD protocol, researcher-made test, and for analysis of data, starting with transcription, translation, coding, memoing, thematic analysis, literature review, and validation will be done. Here are the references for the study. And once again, this is the Dialectics of the Genitals, a grounded theory ethnography of sexuality education among Akeanon-Bukidnon community in Aklan. Thank you very much.